The Zirin survey ship Aurelian's whisper shimmered into low Earth orbit, hidden behind adaptive cloaking systems that flickered like a mirage in space. On board, Zelrin Valcora sat rigid in her observation pod, pale violet fingers wrapped tightly around the sleek rail before her, eyes narrowed at the spinning blue and green sphere below. This was her first direct mission to a Category 5 emotionally volatile species. Humans. Even saying the word in her mind triggered a ripple of unease in her emotion-dampening implant. That alone was proof of their danger. They were illogical, reactionary, addicted to caffeine and unpredictable mating rituals. They watched ancient recordings of fictional violence for comfort and blasted rhythmic sound waves called Bon Jovi when experiencing distress. To the Zirin collective, they were a curiosity at best, chaotic biochemical soup at worst. Yet they had survived extinction dozens of times: wars, plagues, global warming, reality TV. No species had ever flirted so closely with annihilation so often and danced away laughing. Zelrin had studied them extensively. She had translated over 1.4 million hours of media, analyzed linguistics, studied mating habits, digestion, and what they referred to as dad jokes. And now, she was Earth's assigned liaison. She took a breath, adjusted her diplomatic harness, and entered the shuttle chamber. The bay door hissed open. Behind her, her AI assistant crackled through her earpiece. Reminder: do not accept gifts. Do not consume terrestrial liquids. Do not flirt. I am Zirin, she said flatly. We don't flirt. The shuttle dropped silently into Earth's atmosphere. 3 hours later, Zelrin stood on cracked pavement outside a former gas station in New Mexico that had been hastily converted into a diplomatic outpost by someone who clearly thought International Summit meant extra folding chairs and a taco truck. The man waiting for her wore mirrored aviators, combat boots, and a sun-bleached t-shirt that read, "I have the power," beneath a picture of a muscular cartoon man holding a sword aloft. He was leaning against a vending machine that blinked out of order in red letters. He grinned when he saw her. "So you're the alien chick." He pushed off the vending machine and approached with the casual swagger of someone who thought gravity was optional. "You look taller in the surveillance footage." Zelrin inclined her head politely. "I am Zelrin Valcora of the Zirin Harmony Collective. I am here to initiate first contact diplomatic engagement with a representative of Earth." "Awesome," the man said, shaking her hand before she could protest. "Name's Derek Cole. Official human ambassador. I guess. The president wanted someone with cultural literacy, which apparently means I've seen every Schwarzenegger movie and don't scream when I see glowing eyes." Zelrin pulled her hand back discreetly and studied him. He smelled of machine oil and roasted sugar. His emotional readings were erratic. He was either nervous or excited or both. The Zirin implant in her neck buzzed a quiet warning. "Your heart rate is elevated," she noted. "Yeah, well, first time I'm talking to a space princess. We don't do this kind of thing much around here. I mean, except Roswell. But that guy turned out to be a weather balloon and 3 possums in a trench coat." "I see," she replied, though she very much did not. He gestured to a picnic table. "Wanna sit? Talk intergalactic peace over some chili fries." Zelrin blinked. "That sounds like a hazardous consumption scenario." Derek laughed. "That's fair. My ex said the same thing before she met the paramedics." They sat. Or rather, Derek sprawled while Zelrin remained bolt upright, like a coil, ready to spring. Her translator chip strained to contextualize his phrases. "Let's start simple," he said, pulling out a device she recognized as a primitive communication terminal. He called it a flip phone, though it looked more like a broken hinge with buttons. "You guys got any questions about Earth? I can tell you all about politics, geography, memes." "We have observed your media," she said. "Extensively." "Oh yeah. What's your favorite?" She hesitated. "The Princess Bride." Derek leaned forward. "You're kidding. You watch The Princess Bride. It contains valuable insights into primitive emotional logic and atypical battle strategies." "My name is Inigo Montoya," he quoted. "You killed my father. Prepare to die," she finished automatically, then looked away sharply, as though embarrassed by her own fluency. Derek laughed again, loud, open, and unguarded. "You're all right, Zell." Her name in his mouth sounded strange, almost warm. She shifted in her seat, trying to ignore the flush crawling up her neck. The implant buzzed again, noting hormonal elevation and warning of potential neural interference. Zelrin attempted to steer the conversation back to neutral ground. Earth's emotional volatility presents a challenge for interstellar diplomacy. Your species exhibits alarming tendencies toward irrational attachments. Romantic pair bonding appears deeply chaotic. Derek snorted. That's love, sugar. It's a mess. It's wild. That's what makes it fun. Fun is irrelevant to harmonious interaction. You've never been in love. Zelrin paused. Her hand brushed the edge of the table. The implant in her spine vibrated, alerting her to rising oxytocin levels. No, she said too quickly. Not even with Wesley. I am not biologically compatible with fictional characters. He gave her a look. Didn't stop half of Tumblr. I don't know what that is. Bless your heart. She frowned. Why would you bless my heart? Is it diseased? Before Derek could explain, a sudden burst of wind kicked up sand across the lot. Zelrin rose from her seat, her eyes flickering with faint bioluminescence. The air shimmered briefly, and a low hum rattled in the distance, the sound of an approaching Xeran surveillance drone. Derek stood too, brushing crumbs from his shirt. He reached toward her instinctively, brushing something from her shoulder. She froze as his fingers grazed her uniform. His touch was brief, meaningless, and yet, her breath caught. Something short-circuited. Her vocal processor spasmed. Her translator chips scrambled for stable syntax. Her brain refused to cooperate. I love you, she blurted. Derek's eyes widened. The wind died. The vending machine beeped once, and then stopped forever. Zelrin stared at him in frozen horror. Then, without another word, she turned on her heel and sprinted. Not walked. Not calmly excused herself. Sprinted. Past the taco truck. Past the confused Air Force guards. Straight into her shuttle, which took off so fast it left a crater in the parking lot and launched several folding chairs into orbit. Derek stood there, alone, a chili fry dangling from his hand. He blinked, looked up at the rapidly vanishing trail of fire across the sky, then looked down at the still warm bench where she had sat. Well, he muttered, that was something. Then, after a beat, he grinned. Still got it. The desert air was sharp with ozone and burnt cactus. Derek paced the perimeter of the crash site, boots crunching through scorched gravel. His shirt clung to his back, damp with sweat and anxiety. The sun was dropping behind the red cliffs, but his heart wasn't slowing. Not after what she'd said. Not after that. I love you, she had blurted like a glitch in her translator, eyes wide, glowing faintly purple in the dusk, then bolted up the gangway into her half-buried ship like a teenage drama queen fleeing prom night. That was 5 hours ago. The ramp was still sealed. The hull hadn't so much as hummed since. Hey, Zell. Derek shouted for the 4th time. You can't just emotionally carpet bomb a guy and disappear. No answer. He kicked a rock. It bounced off the gangway with a metallic clank, then rolled under a desert bush. A lizard scampered out, unimpressed. Derek rubbed his face. His palms were gritty. His patience was officially cracked. He marched toward the ship. She wasn't just an alien. She was an elite alien. Zelrin Valquora of the Xeran Star Command, first contact diplomat, technopath, tactical genius, and occasional taco addict. For 3 weeks, they danced around each other in escalating waves of sarcasm, crisis, and late-night philosophical arguments over the superiority of Earth's pizza toppings. And now she'd said that. The thing. The nuclear phrase. And locked herself away. He banged on the hull. I'm not mad, he said. Okay, I was mad for a minute, but only because I thought I was the emotionally volatile one in this friendship. A crack appeared in the ramp. A soft hiss of pressure. The door creaked open just enough for her voice to drift through. You were not supposed to hear that. Derek blinked. I mean, it was pretty loud. It was a malfunction. He folded his arms. You malfunctioned, love. It was supposed to be a metaphor. For what? A compliment? A parking violation? She sighed. My emotional regulators are out of alignment. I've been exposed to prolonged human interaction. Your species is destabilizing. He leaned closer. You said it like you meant it. Silence. Zell, he said, softer now, talk to me. The door opened fully, revealing her silhouette backlit in neon blue shadows. Her posture was rigid, but her eyes were downcast. I am Xeran, she said. We do not love in the way your kind defines it. We bond. We merge purpose. We harmonize. Derek nodded. And I harmonized with you. Without protocol. Without clearance. He stepped into the ship. The air inside was cooler, sterile, humming with quiet machines. Her living quarters were sleek and alien, but there was a folded flannel shirt on the chair. His shirt. She hadn't given it back. She watched him, jaw tight. "I don't know what I'm becoming," she said. "I laughed at a yo mama joke yesterday, Derek. I found it funny." "It was funny," he said. "Your species thinks with 7 brains." That joke was linguistically impressive. "I downloaded your sitcom archives to understand irony," she added. "Now I hear Ken laughter in my head." He laughed. She did not. "This is dangerous," she whispered. "I am being recalled. My people detected deviation." Derek's smile faded. "They're coming for you?" "Soon. Maybe days." "And what happens if they take you back?" "They reconfigure me. Strip away the influence. Reset my memories." His stomach twisted. "They'd erase this." Her voice was barely audible. "They would unmake everything I've learned, including you." The silence between them stretched until it snapped under its own weight. He moved closer. "Then run." "I can't outrun the Ziran fleet." "Then hide. Earth's got caves, bunkers, conspiracy theorists with actual alien-proof basements." Zelrin allowed herself a smile, faint and flickering. "They have planetary scans." "Then we fight," Derek said. "We go full Independence Day. Hack a laptop. Upload a virus. Blow up their ship with a Chevy." "That's not how any of that works." He shrugged. "Worked in the movie." She stepped closer. Their faces were inches apart. "You would risk everything," she said, "just to preserve this bizarre connection?" He reached up and touched her cheek. It was warmer than he expected. "I already did," he said, "when I didn't run the first time you pointed that quantum weapon at me. I didn't intend to fire. You also didn't intend to love me. But here we are." Her laugh was short and sad. "Your confidence is exhausting." "It's all I've got." A pulse echoed through the hull, faint, like a sonar ping. Zelrin stiffened. "They're close," she whispered. "That's a long-range beacon." Derek stepped back. "How long do we have?" She scanned the console. "Hours at best. Maybe less." He nodded, then turned toward the door. "All right. We prep." She blinked. "Prep? Yeah. If they're coming, we give them a reception. You've got tech. I've got, well, a garage full of questionably legal electronics and a lot of duct tape. We're not dead yet." Her eyes flickered. "That's not a rational strategy." "Neither is love." She stared at him, and then she smiled. It wasn't her usual half-smirk or diplomatic nod. It was real, vulnerable, defiant. "I'll modify the shielding. Disrupt their scans. I'll build decoys. Light up the desert like Vegas in '94. Zelrin tilted her head. "You know this is impossible." He gave her a lopsided grin. "Yeah, but you love that about me." She didn't argue. Together, they stepped into the gathering twilight. Behind them, the desert wind whispered through the cracked earth, as if the world itself was holding its breath. By midnight, Derek's garage looked like a sci-fi garage sale after a nervous breakdown. Soldering smoke curled through the air. Wires dangled like cybernetic spaghetti. Old microwave guts were wired to a car battery. Zelrin hovered over a repurposed leaf blower, now upgraded with alien propulsion coils. The plan wasn't elegant. It was desperate, which made it perfect. Zell tapped the device, skeptical. "This jerry-rigged EMP cannon you've constructed, it won't explode upon activation." Derek grinned, eyes bloodshot from 3 straight hours of chaotic engineering. "Define explode." "I would prefer if it didn't vaporize half the mountain range." "Oh, then it's probably fine." She gave him a look that could curdle steel. But there was a faint twitch of her mouth again, almost a smile. Almost. They had been working in sync for hours, a strange rhythm forming between Earth instinct and Ziran precision. Zelrin reconfigured his car battery into a pulse emitter. Derek reverse-engineered her energy shield to run on a weed-whacker motor. Everything was a patchwork of human junk and alien genius. In another context, it might have been a brilliant scientific collaboration. In this one, it was a last stand. Zelrin stepped back and looked at the mess. "Your species makes chaos look effective." "We learned from MacGyver," Derek said, wiping his brow. "Give us duct tape and a dream, and we'll build a death ray." She opened her mouth to ask what a MacGyver was, thought better of it, and returned to calibrating the resonance dampener. A low-frequency thrum shook the ground, subtle but distinct. Zelrin's head snapped up. That's them. Derek bolted for the roof access. He yanked open the hatch and climbed into the night air. The stars above were clear, too clear. And one of them was getting bigger. No, not a star. A ship. Sleek. Massive. Gliding silently over the cliffs like a predator. Its underbelly shimmered with Ziran runes, glowing faint blue against the dark. It wasn't attacking. Not yet. But it was watching. Zell joined him. They're observing. Confirming I'm still on planet. Derek's jaw tightened. Can they see us? Not directly. But if they deploy scouts? The answer came before she could finish. For smaller vessels broke formation, peeling off from a mother ship like angry hornets. Yep. Scouts, Derek muttered. They scrambled back inside. Derek grabbed the improvised cannon. Zell, her handheld translator console, turned jamming beacon. The garage doors screeched open. Moonlight spilled across the desert. All right, Derek said, slipping a bandolier of alkaline batteries over his shoulder. Time to show your people why Earth isn't on the galactic tourist map. Zelrin hesitated. You okay? He asked. She looked at him, eyes unreadable, glowing faintly lavender in the dark. They're my people, she said quietly. I trained with them, bled with them. I once believed in the purity of their mission. He nodded slowly. And now? She looked away. Now, I believe in tacos and mixtapes. Derek laughed even though it hurt. She drew in a breath, squared her shoulders, and said, Let's make some noise. The first scout ship screamed overhead, low and fast. A sonic boom rattled the ground. Derek ducked behind the pickup truck, aimed the cannon, and pulled the trigger. Nothing. Then everything. A burst of electromagnetic fury howled into the sky, lighting up the scout like a firecracker. The ship spiraled, engines flickering, and crashed into the ridge with a satisfying whump. Holy crap! Derek shouted. It worked. Zelrin was already redirecting power. They'll adapt. We have one shot at this chaos. The remaining scouts peeled away, forming attack vectors. Zell activated the jamming beacon. A high-pitched whine cut through the air. The nearest ship stuttered, veered off course, and slammed into a boulder the size of a food truck. 2 down. Derek hooped. Do not celebrate yet, she said. They've engaged countermeasures. A red beam lanced from the third scout, slicing through Derek's garage like a hot knife through conspiracy theories. The cannon went flying. Derek dove rolled and came up behind a half-melted lawnmower. Okay, now I'm mad. He reached into his backpack and pulled out a bundle of makeshift flares, each packed with magnesium, alien power cells, and just enough reckless human ingenuity to be wildly unsafe. Cover me, he yelled. Zell hurled a gravity mine, no longer elegant Ziran tech, but a hacked-together sphere pulsing with unstable force fields. It detonated midair, slamming the third scout into the ground like an invisible fist. Derek ran straight toward the fourth one. The flare ignited as he tossed it, blazing a brilliant, unnatural hue that scrambled the ship's sensors. It jerked violently to the side and clipped a rock outcrop, flipping end over end before detonating in a bloom of blue fire. Silence followed. Dust settled. The air buzzed with static and adrenaline. Zelrin looked at Derek, who was coughing and trying to stand. You're insane, she said. He grinned through soot and dirt. Takes one to love one. Before she could respond, a deafening hum filled the sky. The mother ship. It descended like a descending god, lights rippling with unreadable alien symbols. A voice, calm, metallic, unmistakably Ziran, echoed from the sky. Zelrin Valcora. Cease deviation. Surrender and be restored. She stared up at the ship, then down at Derek, then back at the ship. No, she said. There was a pause. The voice repeated more forcefully. Surrender or be neutralized. I said no, Zell said again louder. And she activated the last failsafe, her ship's buried core, pulsing with dormant Ziran tech. It flared to life beneath the sand, sending a shockwave of interference through the valley. The mother ship reeled, visibly disoriented. Its smooth descent turned into a lurching halt. Zell stumbled. The energy cost was massive. Derek caught her as she swayed. That looked final. It was, she whispered. We have minutes before they recalibrate. He helped her to the edge of the ridge. Together, they looked at the massive ship looming overhead. You got one last trick? Derek asked. She nodded faintly. But you won't like it. Will I survive it? Unclear. He looked at her deadpan. That's kind of our thing, huh? She smiled, weak but still defiant. Then she turned and activated her console. Lights flared, energy surged, and the desert lit up with the beginning of the end. The ground trembled beneath them. Zelrin's console pulsed in rapid bursts, symbols racing across its interface in patterns Derek didn't understand, but instinctively knew weren't good. The energy surge she triggered wasn't just scrambling the Zirin mothership systems, it was pulling power from every latent piece of tech she'd hidden on Earth. And it was pushing her to the edge. You're draining your ship's core, Derek said, steadying her as the wind kicked up, swirling with sand and static. It's the only way to level the field. They're too strong, she replied, her voice tight, her hands trembling slightly. So that's suicide, he said, eyes searching hers. She didn't look at him. I've already made peace with that. No. Nope. That's not how we do things here. Not on Earth. Especially not in a garage full of broken toasters and hot glue dreams. Her lips twitched again, half smirk, half pain. Your planet is unbelievably stupid. And yet you fell for it, he said, softer now. A pause. Something unspoken hung between them, shimmering like heat-off asphalt. Overhead, the mothership adjusted, its stabilizers regaining control. Blue energy flared to life in an array of glowing panels. Derek knew that hum. It wasn't a scan. It was a targeting lock. They're charging weapons, Zell confirmed grimly. He looked around. The EMP cannon was fried. The jamming beacon cracked in half. They were out of time and out of toys. Unless... Derek sprinted to the garage, now half rubble. He shoved aside what remained of his workbench, reaching for the heavy tarp underneath. Zell followed, limping slightly. What are you doing? She asked. Plan Z, he said. For Zelrin, do not freak out. He yanked the tarp back. Beneath it was a homemade rocket, crudely welded, festooned with lawn chair padding, and the words "Don't panic" spray-painted in neon pink across the side. You built a rocket? She asked, genuinely stunned. Well, more like a giant bottle rocket with dreams of greatness, Derek replied. I was saving it for the 4th of July. Or maybe Burning Man. But... He knelt beside it, opening the ignition panel. Inside were 2 Zirin fuel cells wired into a car's spark plug system. She stared, unblinking. You're going to launch that at a warship. Correction. We're going to launch you at it. What? Look, you said you had one last trick. Something that might end this. You're the only one who can get inside that ship and activate it. I just provide the lift. She looked at him like he'd lost his mind. Maybe he had. Probably. But it didn't change the math. If you go up there alone, they'll kill you before you land, he added. But if you jam their sensors on the way, old school style, they won't see it coming. She exhaled, torn between logic and madness. This is idiotic. He offered his hand. Welcome to Earth. With no time left, they worked fast. Zell rerouted the ship's interference pulse into a localized cloak. Derek modified the timing controls using the world's most unpredictable variable, a toaster oven set to Pop-Tart. As they bolted her into the cockpit, really just a reinforced trash can with seatbelts, Derek looked her in the eye. When you get up there, you end this. Hit whatever big red button they've got. Blow it up, or turn it off, or make them rethink ever messing with Earth again. Zell didn't respond right away. Then, barely audible, I meant it. He blinked. Meant what? That night. On the ridge. When I said, she hesitated, the words harder to form now than in the heat of confusion. When I said I loved you. I didn't even know what love meant in your language. But now. His breath caught. She didn't have to finish. He felt it like a gravitational pull. I know, he said. And then, because this was still Earth, he handed her a mixtape. For the ride. The countdown was done in old-fashioned style, Derek yelling numbers while hammering the ignition switch with a wrench. The makeshift rocket sputtered, shook, then ignited in a shrieking roar. Zelrin shot skyward in a plume of fire, duct tape, and blind faith. The mothership reacted instantly, tracking the launch, weapons spinning up. But the cloak held. For a few precious seconds, she was a ghost. Inside the rocket, Zell gritted her teeth, holding the controls steady as the Zirin interface synced with her neural patterns. At the apex of the ascent, the rocket snapped open like a seed pod, launching her in a free-fall trajectory toward the enemy hull. Just before impact, her cloak failed. The Zirins saw her. Too late. She slammed into the side of the ship and phased through the outer hull using a short-range dimensional breach, Risky, painful, but effective. Inside, alarms blared. Drones swarmed. Zell ran. Through corridors she'd once trained in. Past banners she once saluted. Toward the core, an AI command node wired into the ship's nervous system. It spoke as she approached. Zelrin Valcora. This is a mistake. No, she said, pulling the last device Derek had given her from her belt. A simple-looking object shaped like a cassette tape. It's humanity, she whispered, and it doesn't ask permission. She shoved the cassette into the command node. The AI screamed. Code unraveled. Lights flared, then died. The entire ship shuddered, then slumped like a puppet with its strings cut. On the ground, Derek saw the glow vanish. The ship froze midair, then drifted, heavy and confused, before slowly, very slowly, descending until it rested like a mountain-sized paperweight against the canyon floor. He didn't cheer. He waited. And then he saw her, falling like a comet, but slower. Controlled. A parachute bloomed open, made from what looked suspiciously like his shower curtain. She landed hard, but intact, tumbling in a swirl of dust and righteous fury. Derek ran to her. She stood shakily, eyes wide. It worked. He caught her in a hug before she could fall again. They didn't speak for a moment, just held each other, their breath ragged. Finally, she muttered, "If you make a joke right now, I will punch you." "I was going to offer tacos." She exhaled, something between a laugh and a sob. "Okay, that's acceptable." They turned to look at the ship. Already, lights blinked from within, Zirin's awakening from programming, confused and powerless. "You think they'll come back?" she asked. "Maybe," he said. "But next time, they'll know not to underestimate Earth. Or duct tape. Or love." In the distance, sirens wailed. Cameras flashed. The world had noticed. Derek took her hand. "You ready to explain all this to the government?" Zelrin tilted her head. "Explain what?" He grinned. "Exactly." And together they walked into the chaos.